New indications today, a deal to end the war in Gaza and secure a hostage release deal may be imminent. Reports say U.S. Mideast envoy Steve Witkoff told hostage families this weekend the U.S. has a plan to bring the hostages home. Witkoff also said Hamas is ready to end the fighting there, which the terror group immediately denied. Joining me now is former Special Assistant to President Obama and NSC Senior Director for the Central Region, Ambassador Dennis Ross, also the author of the book Statecraft 2.0. Ambassador, thanks for being with us. The staged hostage release framework carried over from the Biden administration hasn't entirely worked. We've seen a drip of hostages coming out, but not in a while. So what do you believe is behind Witkoff's latest statements?
I think what's driving it now is the failure of the most recent set of negotiations. You had the president saying we'd have a hostage release, a ceasefire within a few days. You had Steve Witkoff saying that as well. You had that level of optimism going up, and then basically nothing happened. They blamed Hamas for increasing the conditions, and the net result was you have this perpetuation not only of the conflict, of the humanitarian reality, and hostages being held, and videos released by Hamas yesterday, are really horrific in terms of showing two hostages literally wasting away. So I think what is driving this is the sense that partial approaches haven't worked. It's time to go for a comprehensive deal, but there's no comprehensive deal unless you end the war. You have to end the war. The Israelis have to withdraw. There has to be clearly no basis on which Hamas can control Gaza or reconstitute itself. The good news is, for the first time, we've seen the Arab League come out calling for Hamas to disarm, calling for Hamas not to be in power, calling for an end of the war and the release of the hostages. We have not seen the Arabs say that before. So there may be more to work with right now in terms of the Arabs themselves being prepared to put more pressure on Hamas.
What levers are left for the United States to also pressure Hamas to disarm and possibly leave the Strip?
I think the real pressure comes more from, in a sense, calling the Hamas bluff. What I mean by that is Hamas for a long time has said they would release all the hostages provided the war were to end. We haven't come out and explicitly said that. We haven't had a plan that explicitly said that. We were focused on what was partial deals, ceasefires for 60 days. Mostly because Prime Minister Netanyahu wasn't prepared to say he would commit to ending the war. So if this is actually going to be the plan, if the plan is going to start and have the premise of we're ending the war, it puts Hamas in a position where, in a sense, okay, you said you're prepared to end the war, provided you're prepared to release all the hostages, provided there's an end to the war. Suddenly, you're saying, okay, here's a proposal that says end the war. The Arabs are backing it. It certainly puts the Arabs in a stronger position to demand something from Hamas, put more pressure on it. Both Qatar, because it has money that it gives Hamas, it provides, in a sense, a kind of sanctuary for a lot of the political leaders of Hamas, and Egypt, because it controls the border with Hamas, with Gaza, has the ability to put pressure. If the U.S. is now embracing the idea of ending the war, and can basically say to Prime Minister Netanyahu, it's time to do that, we may be in a different place.
When you and I spoke this week, you said that Trump is essentially the linchpin here and we have reached an inflection point. Can you expand on that?
Well, absolutely. I think the key here is the only one who can put real pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu from the outside is President Trump. I don't believe Bibi Netanyahu can say no to him. It's not only because he's been supportive of Israel throughout. It's not only because he acted against Iran on the most important issue to Netanyahu, which is carrying out military strikes. The combination of these things puts Bibi in a position where it's very hard to say no to Trump. What Trump provides, if he goes ahead and says you have to do this, it gives Netanyahu an explanation to use with the right wing of his coalition, who don't want to see the war end, who would like to reoccupy Gaza, and he can come in. Bibi can come in and say, look, we can't say no to Trump. You know what Trump's done for us. And Bibi would then use that as his explanation for why he's doing it. He won't volunteer it on his own. But in response to Trump, he can say, what choice do we have to members of his coalition?
And you had mentioned also the Knesset in recess, so maybe relieving some of the pressure on Netanyahu. Maybe he can push a deal forward. Ambassador Dennis Ross, thank you so much as always.